collect there is then information that you analyze either through web analytics or through more powerful tools. So for example, I can use Tableau to connect to Google Analytics to actually slice and monetize my data much better than what the interface of Google Analytics allows me.
Perfect. So this is how you collect your data and analyze your data, and then you do the strategies.
Yeah, basically. I mean, like on a very simple. No, because then, for example, I mean, like I mentioned it during the presentation. Because in my case, we do have a big data asset. SQL is my bread and butter.
I've worked with SQL before. Yes,
yeah, no, because like the thing really, and I mean, especially for people with less of a technical background, these kind of like coding or databases or things like that, it sounds a little bit scary. Don't worry, as long as it's a query, you won't break anything. As long as you don't put data in the database, you won't break anything. Probably won't give you access to the data, so that's okay. And then number two, which is also like, I think, really, really important, is that even if we are marketers first, we have to be comfortable with the tools of our trade. And the tools change, and like the requirements change, and you will have to learn new things every day. I mean, I haven't done SQL since I left engineering school 13 years ago. Now it's like all the time. Sometimes I think I dream in tables. But the thing is that all these tools change. So you will have better tools, next year, or different tools, or maybe your company infra changed, et cetera, et cetera. But then at the end of the day, because all these is based in technological platforms, we need to be comfortable, or comfortable enough with these things. So for example, I've seen tutorials. You know what CLV is, customer lifetime value? So I've seen tutorials to use SQL to calculate CLV. And to me that's magic. And when you go to your, to your CEO or like your head of marketing and say, well, actually, hey, and the graph looks beautiful. That's added value for you as well. So just keep on learning. I mean, I think I have no hair because I keep on learning.
Any other thing?
You mentioned about the lean startup in the
Yeah.
beginning, and you said it's a huge topic.
Yeah.
Could you throw some light on it? I mean, just a brief summary. And how could lean startup, help a non-tech company, basically?
Well, I mean, there is basically, it's been a while since I've read it, so there's probably a lot of stuff that I'll skip, so just Google it and check the article on Wikipedia. But there is two main topics that they talk about, or actually three. Let me just go back, blah, 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 not these people. Yeah, these people. One is the one about, vanity rate versus actionable metrics,
Okay.
which we've already discussed in detail. And then they talk, this one, yeah, this one. And then they talk a lot about something they call the minimum viable product.
Okay.
So actually before, they kind of like, the way they think about it, and I mean it works for internet companies, is to actually go out to market with something that is just a proof of concept, or even just like a test of market demand, to see whether you should do it, and whether, instead of, so, for example, when I was a novelist, it would take me 2 years to come up with a phone, and to take it to market, or whatever it's long as it takes you, but it was definitely years, in many cases, most cases. But then the thing is that, it would have a spec sheet, this big. It had all the bells and whistles. With this kind of, methodology, then first you test all your assumptions. You test whether, these are products that people might like, whether, this is a feature, products that people might like, etc. And then you just run through this iterative process at light speed.
Okay.
But everything you do has a target. then he sees, and the interesting thing about it, and the interesting thing of data in general, and data analytics and all these things, is that you will always find stuff you didn't know. So if you're curious, this is a great thing.
Is Dubbizle or was Dubbizle a lean startup?
It probably was, I was not around then. I mean, the guys did go through, the founders, JC and Sam, or some JC, never get the other right. They did have a number of iterations on the services that Dubbizle offered, especially in the early years. So Dubbizle actually just turned 10. In internet years, it's like a lifetime. In dog years, probably less. But really, when you look at screenshots of Dubbizle as it was 8 years ago, some of this functionality is not there anymore, and vice versa. But that's the point. You also learn. You also grow with your market. So the one thing that has always been very interesting to me about Dubai is that actually we have a huge second-hand economy. People are used to, well, I don't like this thing, I'm going to sell it. I said, like basically, or I don't need this thing, I'm going to sell it. Just one last example of Dubbizle items that happened. So somebody actually placed one egg. One egg. Because this person was going on holiday, and he didn't want this, or he or she, I don't remember, didn't want this egg to rot. But that's the point. It becomes, actually I don't remember that part, but it becomes, a way of thinking. I have some things that I don't need, maybe somebody needs it. And it's the same thing with, finding your market, finding, iterating on your product, iterating on your marketing, doing A/B testing, multivariate testing, all these things. It's just it's a journey. And that's the thing, really. You don't know what you're gonna find. You don't know where you're gonna end up. But you have to be humble enough to accept what this guy tells you. Please.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Sorry. First, I'm sure you keep track of what the nationalities of your customers. It's just out of curiosity, are they mainly more Westerns? Are we Asian?
We ask for it.
Yeah.
But it's up to the customer to tell us.
But usually, what?
I can't.
You can't. We can't. Okay, then. Fine.
But what I can tell you is that our customer profile reflects the demographics of Dubai, or of the group.
Yeah.
So if you see, if you go to the census office, or if you go to the website of the census office, and you check, the nationalities that live here, our profile reflects that.
The reason I asked this question because Dubbizle is when you, as you said, if you have a jacket, you sell it. In white culture, maybe you want if you have something you don't want it, you just throw it. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
the culture of selling and buying little things was not that important.
But that's the thing. Where I grew up, not where I come from, which is a different thing, but where I grew up, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But interestingly, that actually doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
People change and people adapt and people learn new things, and when you just by the pure act of being here, of living here, you will adopt stuff from here, behaviors, or suddenly you will not drive as nicely as you used to drive in Europe, for example, or you might start. I'd say Habibi all the time, so. So, you know, like, and it's the same with behaviors, it's the same with, you know, using Dubbizle in this case.
Second question.
Please.
You said that to gain new customers is 5 times harder than,
But more expensive, yes.
yeah, more expensive, 5 times.
Both. Yeah.
Okay. Can you give us some tips how you get new customers? Like,
Well, it depends on a couple of things. It depends on
how do you?
on what's your kind of like your segment. You know, what are the customers that you're after? So that's one.
So you segment first.
Yeah, well, I mean, we come back to the parameters, right? So like, you agree what's your objective, and you define what's your objective, and then you start thinking about how am I going to reach it. So, okay, for example, let me go back to this one, the designer process. Yeah, so for example, when these people acquire customers, the first thing they're going to look at is they don't want me.
No, they won't.
Yeah, I mean, for starters, you know, I wouldn't fit in one of these. So that, you know, you start looking at how you segment your customers. The second thing is, okay, once you segment your customers, you look at where your customers are. And of course, the limiting variable is budget. So budget, how much money you have. So it might be that you're not able to go with a big, you know, full blast campaign, but you can target these customers that not only are the customers that you want, but that are going to bring you other customers by being, you know, very active on, you know, social networks, offline and online. Don't forget that offline is important. So, you know, as I said, it comes back to what do you want? And then just, you know, start kind of like thinking and thinking and thinking, and then testing a little bit, you know, so like, it might be that you do a campaign with, you know, 200 dirhams to test if doing something on this website that has, you know, fashion readership is going to help you. Well, I mean, you know what I mean. So, little by little, you start understanding as well what are your most effective acquisition channels. So, the same, you know, the same process, sorry, this way, the same process applies for pretty much anything you want to do. It's just a question of, are you ready to do it? And are you focused enough to react to the changes that those experiments tell you? If I am kind of like making sense now.
And you are, but like, you know, still, it's fine.
They're like, what
I think you have key things in Dubbizle, but you're not sharing them, right?
I mean,
you're
I think
being more general.
I think that the important thing for, no, it's not only that actually. I really, you know, I said, I've been in mobile phones, I've been doing consulting, I've been doing, you know, I've been working with like, in consulting for example, I've been working with like education companies. So their acquisition channels are totally different. You know, an education company, like, so for example, you know, somebody like that prints school books, is actually not interested in doing general advertising. They just want to target teachers. And they will do that through, you know, lead generation campaigns, emails, things like that. So we come back to the same thing. It depends on